Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where teachers can save 5% every day. Download the Safeway app and verify your teacher status for exclusive offers and discounts. Get started at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Hey there, happy start of the week. Looks like we're finally getting some warmer weather. Highs in the 60s and 70s across the Front Range. And honestly, I'm relieved because I kept forgetting to bring my jacket. And that's why they call it full spring, I guess. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel.
And I'm Bazi Kanani. Coming up, the story of people unexpectedly detained by ICE in Colorado.
He fled enslavement in Mauritania.
Then, if dyslexia goes undiagnosed, it can set back kids in a lot of ways. But
right now, dyslexia identification is a point of privilege.
Parents and teens are trying to change that.
Plus, how a Colorado musician wants to lift your spirits.
You can do whatever you want to do in this life as long as you put your mind to it.
It's Monday, April 7th. Here's the news in Colorado today.
First, over the weekend, thousands of people protested in Denver, and similar demonstrations occurred all around the state. These were part of a larger movement, the hands-off protests that happened all around the country this weekend.
It feels encouraging to see that there's that many other people in our democracy, especially right here locally in the Denver area, that feel the same way. It's fighting for our country and our democracy and everything that America does stand for. I was going to say used to stand for, but it's not used to. It does still stand for that.
Mike Young is a Navy veteran from Lakewood. He said this was his first protest. He and his brother, who receives Medicaid, were among the crowd that helped fill the Capitol steps and lawns on Saturday. In a statement about the protests, the White House said, in part, President Trump's position is clear. He will always protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid for eligible beneficiaries. Tim Valdez from Denver also demonstrated on Saturday.
I'm upset about mostly the lack of care for security, the signal gate thing, no accountability, no responsibility taken, and it's basically enacting a trade war against our allies. I mean, how do you fight with Canada, for Christ's sakes? It just doesn't make any sense.
Other people in attendance told CPR News they are worried about the future of parks and public lands in Colorado and the rights being taken away from the LGBTQ community and immigrants.
Immigrants detained by ICE in Colorado include people fleeing slavery. That's according to new reporting by CPR's Allison Sherry. She's been following the story of some men from Mauritania in northwest Africa. They were pursuing asylum claims when they were swept up in an ICE raid in February. Allison is here to tell us about one of them. Allison, who is he?
He crossed the border in November 2023 from Texas. He fled enslavement in Mauritania, and he was in a very dangerous situation. So he came to South America, went up through the Darien Gap, and then crossed in to the United States from Mexico. He right away turned himself in and then spent a couple months at a detention facility in Texas, kind of one of those tent city detention camps at the time that the Biden administration had set up. He was there for a little over 2 months and decided to file for asylum there. Because he had no criminal record, he wasn't a public safety risk, and he had kind of followed the process. He was released, and he made his way up to Denver, where he had several family members already living here who had also sought asylum. He had been working. He worked at UPS, done a seasonal job. It had ended, so he was looking for a job at King Soopers. He was leaving his apartment at Cedar Run. It's in southeast Denver on February 5th. It was kind of a snowy day. He walks out. He has his work authorization, his Colorado ID, all of the things you need to go fill out a job application. And he shuts the door of his apartment, and there's an ICE agent on each side of the hallway where there are exits.
I'll just note here that you're not sharing his name in order to protect his identity. He did have work authorization and a Colorado ID, so why was he detained by ICE?
I mean, they were doing mass detentions that day. That was the big raid where they had said they were targeting members of Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang, and they were trying to get like 100-some people. They ended up getting 30. But I went to the Immigration Detention Center, and I talked to him about this. And I asked him, and he said at first he wasn't that nervous because he has no criminal record. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's followed every single process. But it's been reported that ICE has quotas of people they're supposed to be, the number of people they're supposed to be detaining per day or per week. He was in detention for 7 weeks, and he told me he thinks he was in detention because they just needed to get their numbers up.
So after he got picked up in that raid, he spent 7 weeks in the Geo ICE facility. And what then?
He was released on kind of a bond. He had to pay money. He had an ankle monitor. Because of a technicality, he may actually have to go back into detention, but all the while his asylum claim is still pending. And he's, not very optimistic about getting asylum, even though he has such a strong case. I've been talking to a lot of family members of the man detained, and this is one of the relatives.
When you come to a country like U.S., hoping that you may be safe over here, this is not the kind of situation that you are expecting. And if it happens to you, it makes you feel not hopeful anymore.
The Trump administration has said that they are focused on pursuing criminals. Do you expect that we'll still continue to see more stories like this?
Yeah, I do want to say that we know that there are a number of criminals who have gotten it detained and are being held in federal custody. So I don't want to say that no one is a criminal or no one has been accused of any crimes. But I think the sheer truth of this is that there's just not that many criminals walking around our streets who are undocumented. So to try to get those numbers, they're now having to kind of go into a deeper well of people, including people who have not committed any crimes, who are seeking asylum, who maybe even have work authorization, who didn't even cross the border illegally. They walked across the border and then turned themselves in. So we're seeing these cases, and I think the focus on trying to get the numbers up is why.
Allison Sherry, thank you for your reporting.
You're welcome.
Hey, this next story mentions self-harm. If you need help, text TALK, that is TALK, to the number 38255 for free support. As many as 1 in 5 kids may have dyslexia. They have trouble decoding and interpreting words in writing since the words just look like a jumble of letters. For 6 years, parents of these kids have been asking the state legislator to require screening for dyslexia in all Colorado kids. So if they have it, they can get support early on. The parents say that going undiagnosed can lead to mental health issues for some of the kids.
Mom, I can't keep up with my peers. I keep falling behind. I'll never graduate. I'll never be able to get a job, and I'll be homeless.
Laura Mitchell heard this from her daughter, and she's among the parents who are trying again this year to get a law passed. A Senate bill to require school districts to identify early elementary school students with dyslexia got its first hearing last week. High schooler Winston Unger testified in favor of it, and he shared his own story.
I was having a growing anxiety because of how much I hated working my hardest, only to find out that I did not progress at all.
For Laura Mitchell, it wasn't until her daughter reached the 6th grade that a fellow parent said the word dyslexia for the first time. But by then, the whole family had endured years of struggle.
Has your child ever come screaming into your bedroom at 2 a.m. that her sister is attempting to kill herself?
Parent Kristen Allen described how hard it can be to get a diagnosis. Parents who can afford to do so privately pay up to $2,000.
Right now, dyslexia identification is a point of privilege, obtainable only for those with the perfect combination of time, knowledge, money, and access. But what about all the other kids?
Experts say that if dyslexia is identified early in school, kids can be taught how to read, which ultimately costs much less than special education plans. Colorado is just one of a handful of states that don't already mandate screening for dyslexia. Here's the bill's sponsor, Senator Chris Kolker.
To hear that 43 states have a universal dyslexia screener and we don't, I'm sick and tired of being in the bottom 10 in this country in funding education and supporting our students.
The Senate bill passed the first committee hearing unanimously. Now it goes to the Senate floor for further consideration. If it finally passes, after years of trying, it would take effect in the 2026-2027 school year. Find more reporting on dyslexia in Colorado's kids from CPR's Jenny Brandine. The link is in our show notes.
If you've got a case of the Mondays, here's a pick-me-up.
I can achieve whatever I put my mind to. I believe in myself. Hello, Colorado Today. My name is Morgan J. Cox. I'm a singer-songwriter located in Pueblo, Colorado, originally from Denver. Bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom.
Cox says Bada Bing, Bada Boom is a motivational track meant to lift up anyone who needs it, including himself.
Destined for greatness. I'm going places. Get what you get, don't throw a fit, don't give up, don't you quit. The sky's not the limit. They got footprints on the moon. Bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom.
He wrote it after a crisis period in his life. He'd served time and was starting over in a new town.
I found myself working at a coffee shop in Pueblo, and I wanted to do the open mics, and one of my friends named Mary Rose was like, the sky's not the limit. They have footprints on the moon, Morgan. And I was like, I'm going to steal that and put that in some lyrics. The sky's not the limit. They got footprints on the moon. Bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom. And then Bada Bing, Bada Boom just popped in my head one day, too. And I was like, oh, that's really, really cool. So I'm going to combine the two. I'm going places. Get what you get. Don't throw a fit. Don't give up. Don't you quit. The sky's not the limit. They got footprints on the moon.
Cox had experienced some early career success years before in Denver. He auditioned for the X Factor TV show and advanced. Now he's trying to build momentum again.
I feel like the music has always been there for me through dark times, good times, bad times. I just have the best memories when I'm performing or when I'm writing or when I'm just dancing. So I love music. Life gets heavy, heavy. The motivational piece is you can do whatever you want to do in this life as long as you put your mind to it and you stick with it. Life gets heavy, heavy, ready for you.
Pueblo-based artist Morgan J. Cox with his track Bada Bing, Bada Boom. Cox was also a featured Local 303 artist with Indie 102.3. Find more of their picks and a link to Cox's website in our show notes.
Reporting for today's show came from CPR's Ben Marcus, Haley May, and Jenny Brandine. Colorado Today is made possible by the support of our listeners. Be sure to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel.
And I'm Bazi Kanani. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.